We're here with Connor Shapiro on Talking Tickets, and we're going to be talking with him. He is Ticket Craze on Instagram, and we're going to be taking a deep dive into his collection. All right, Connor, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Sean, good to see you.
Good to see you, Mike. It's been a while. What has it been? A couple of weeks?
A couple weeks. Getting back to it. Baseball's in full swing. His Mariners, my Rangers are battling it out. So, like I said, it's like prime time sports season right now.
I'll say this: if the Rangers are going to make the playoffs, and it's going to be a one and done.
The
bullpen, their bullpen is so awful.
We can discuss.
Out.
We don't need to talk about the Yankees either,
Yeah, Connor, you're a Yankee guy, huh?
Yeah.
So you're sitting this one out this year.
Yeah.
All right, Connor. So we see your stuff on Instagram. You are at Ticket Craze.
Correct.
I've seen some horse racing stuff, some cool baseball stuff. So kind of let us know. Tell us about, a little bit about yourself and your collection.
Yeah. So, I started collecting when I was young, kind of the stuff that my dad liked. He was always into coins. He was into, vintage baseball cards. So I kind of went through the progression there of doing coins. Then I went to vintage baseball. Then I went to Pokemon, actually, because I'm young. I'm younger than the average collector. And then I kind of switched to tickets in 2015. But I kind of got into tickets in a funny way, which is when American Pharaoh, in 2015, when he was running for the Triple Crown. I went the year before. California Chrome, was disappointed. Didn't get to see the first Triple Crown in 36 years. And then 37th year rolls around, another chance. So I drive to Belmont with my dad and brother, and started to look at horse racing tickets after that. And looking at those betting slips, looking at admission tickets and things like that. And I've grown up next to Saratoga Racecourse, or not too far, so that's got a rich history there. And yeah.
So were tickets on your radar before you saw the Triple Crown, or was it just something
they were not? Yeah.
Really? And yep. Did you get a ticket? Did you get a ticket to it?
Yep. So I've got here's the Derby, but I looked for a full Derby in 2015 for years and years, and just got this in the past year. It's only a standing room only, but I looked for 7 years and couldn't find one of these.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that one's for American Pharaoh?
Yep.
And
like the Nolan Ryan first hit that I posted the other day, to look for something for 7 or 8 years and to finally find it. I'm not sure there's many hobbies that are quite like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's one of the appealing things about tickets for a lot of people is that the chase. That's probably, what drives a good percentage of ticket collectors is just the difficulty in finding what you're looking for when you're looking for something so specific like that. Great ticket. That's a great ticket. So go ahead. What else?
Yeah, go show us.
Since
we're on the horse racing,
this may be the most recognizable ticket, right? This one's actually signed by Ron Turker. I've met him a few times. He's a jockey for Secretariat, and right, I feel like this one's probably the most recognizable.
Yeah. Do you know how many are signed?
I've seen a couple. I saw a guy recently that had one signed.
Yeah.
Then when you go way back, right, they don't do match races anymore. But right, like the War Admiral versus Seabiscuit, which Darren Ravel would practically stick a knife in me to get. But here's a Manowar versus Sir Barton, 1920. Wow. These come up more than the Seabiscuit versus War Admiral, but still not very common. Right. You're dealing with a 103-year-old ticket here.
Yeah.
Right. You go to Preakness for Secretariat. So these are the badges. There are like the more admission style tickets. But this one here was 1973, which has the silks from the previous year. And then this is 1974, which has, Secretariat silks right on it.
Can you do a close up of one of those? Like, what do they actually label those as? A pass?
Yep.
So something like that.
No, so that's a stub.
It's a stub. So that would get you where into the event? Like, where would you sit with something like that?
So these have a bottom portion that
right.
You can't see here. So it is a pass stub, actually. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how would they wear those? Wear them around their neck or something? It's got that tie.
I think they used to be pinned on clothing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like other full derbies. I mean, there's really not many full derbies out there. If you go back to 1935, 1937, I mean, they're just super uncommon.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like the fulls. What I know I'm a big Secretariat guy. What do you have other ones that you don't have handy? Like, what's your Secretariat collection, since he's kind of the end all be all when it comes to horse racing?
So, I have the full from the Derby. I haven't been able to get a Belmont. I have a Belmont owner's pass, but I don't have.
All right, I gotta bring it
the
out.
One that looks like this. Yeah.
The interesting thing about this is, they technically, it says not good for admission, but I guess it got you your seat. And I'm assuming that you just paid at the gate to get in, and then you had to have this to have an actual seat at the event. Is that kind of how you would see that?
Yep. Because they have a seat in a row number on it.
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
And then,
here's a 1977.
Right.
And then they would just tear the corner, and that's when it becomes a stub versus a full.
Right.
Yeah.
The only one other I have do you have a Preakness one?
I don't have the actual ticket here.
But in the vault. So yeah. I kind of pull. I don't have very few horse racing. I bought this a few years back because I love Secretariat and the whole. If anybody's ever watched the Sports Sense,
those are so hard to find
documentaries. Yeah, because I guess that's when it comes to horse racing. You Secretariats, I would say number one. After that, who would you kind of put second and third?
I mean, when you get to the early stuff, if you have some Seabiscuit stuff, if you have War Admiral, so I kind of focus on just Triple Crown stuff and then Secretariat.
Mm-hmm.
So when you get into just Triple Crown years, right? Like 1935, right? Then, and there's just so many variations with horse racing tickets, right? Like these are all 1937, right? Mm-hmm. So it just depends on, or you have general admission, you have clubhouse.
Right.
And then, so, they come up for sale. It's one of those things where I've kind of always valued them more than the market.
Yeah.
Which is kind of why I've continued to collect them.
Yeah. So what is your background with horse racing? Is it are you just a fan, or
I've honestly just grown up a fan. Yeah.
Really? And you just
now my stepdad owns horses, and I've been around it, and my dad always told me stories. The one that sticks out was when he was going to the track at the Whitney when Secretariat came, and he says to his dad, I think there's only one horse that has a chance here other than Secretariat. It's this horse named Onion. And, if you know the history, Onion ends up beating Secretariat. And he says, if you want to throw your money away, bet on Onion. Yeah.
Great story.
Yeah. So you started collecting in 2015. So I'm guessing you must have got some really good deals before the whole COVID craziness where things started to take off.
I did. So in 2015, I mean, I was actually really trying to get the Hank Aaron stuff and get him to sign stuff. So right along, I found his first hit, then I found his debut. And, in small groupings, 3 or 4 at a time, I'd send him off to Waukesha Sports Cards where he was basically exclusively signed. And then, I managed to get his the one sale with the 3,000 hit after he had passed away. That was the only one that I bought after he passed away. And, one of those things I wasn't sure I was going to get another opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah. So you have an impressive collection of horse racing and just an incredible collection of Hank Aaron signed tickets. Yep. And that spans the debut. Is your debut signed?
Yep.
Wow. And is that on your Instagram? Because I don't know if I've seen it.
It is. It's actually the main picture.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, that's the one on your Instagram.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. That's an incredible collection. So what years were you sending those off from 15 to until he passed away?
To when he passed away. I actually had a small order that I was going to send away right before he passed away. And
yeah. Wow.
But so the only one that's not dated would be the first home run, which I settled for a pass. I've never seen a first home run for Hank Aaron.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of times the first home run is tougher than the debut for several guys.
But in terms of all the other milestones, right? First hit, 3,000, 500 home run, 600, 700, 714, 715, 755, and then final hit.
So how did you go from seeing a Triple Crown and being interested in the ticket to that to Hank Aaron autographs? How did that transition work?
It's funny when you start buying things or you're trying to figure out what to buy. For me, I want to believe in the person's legacy beyond just, right, I'm a collector. I do buy and sell as well. I've been buying and selling on eBay for a while. But for me personally, I thought his legacy was the biggest of any living player. And that's really what it comes down to, right? Like, I'm putting money almost as a bet for his legacy, maintaining long term,
which is safer than a guy like Wander Franco.
So I've always gravitated toward vintage, even though I'm a younger guy. And
yeah. And you mentioned that your dad kind of taught you about vintage when you were growing up because it was.
Yeah, I heard all the names, Pete Rose, Willie Mays, all the players that he grew up with, and those are the ones that I go after.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's solid advice for anybody watching, especially young people. The old guys, they don't get injured. They don't have scandals.
I pulled up. Let me see if I can grab this.
There's a joke in the Pokemon community, which is Charizard's never going to tear his ACL.
Yeah. I've heard that one.
Here's a smaller. So this is basically your Hank Aaron debut signed, right? And when you're getting these done, like, what was Hank charging to get his stuff signed?
So he was charging $325 for a card and $375 for a ticket.
Okay, wow. So he was, even then, was pretty pricey, because that's kind of before I started getting into the signed tickets.
Yep. I mean the full 715. That's also one that's just, for me, I just think that will stand the test of time. Everything that he dealt with leading up to that, I've read his autobiography, which I'd highly recommend as well.
So this one right here, your full 715.
Yeah.
I actually bought a Hank Aaron signed 715 just because I kind of feel like the same way you do. I mean, that'll always just never not be iconic. And with him autoing it, I think it's just an epic ticket. What are some of your other favorite ones? I know I have kind of your items pulled up here. There's quite a cool. If you don't, you got to go check out his IG. It's at ticketcraze.com. But I see a lot of Hank Aaron for sure.
Like that Seabiscuit versus War Admiral, like that one right there, right? Like those are so hard to find. Darren's never thrown out an offer, but he, every time I post it, he messages me.
So something like this, what's the pop report on, say, a Seabiscuit Admiral ticket?
2.
Wow. Yeah. That's like, right there. It's right on there. War Admiral. See, it's not like something vague where you would be like, well, what is this ticket? What is this pass? Like, no, it's like in your face. That would definitely get somebody's attention at a card show.
Yeah.
Wow. War Admiral versus Seabiscuit.
And then there's a movie about it too, right?
Yeah, that never hurts.
Yeah.
So what do you consider
kind of a funny eye feel thing with that ticket though? The red and blue. I'm a Syracuse graduate. So,
That's what doesn't,
in terms of eye
doesn't
appeal for
hurt.
me, it's kind of a funny one, but I actually love the red and blue, or the orange and blue.
Yeah.
And then other ones I see, like, this is another one that I love, is the full Churchill. You get the full, the full derby with the Churchill stubs on the side. I guess, like I said, this is definitely your ticket. But yeah, just like cool, ridiculously nice stuff. A full 715 signed, and and you got a full. Which one is this one right here? Oh, seventh no hitter. You got any other ones handy you wanted to show baseball wise?
I mean, this one's on the PSA website actually.
So how many Hank Aaron tickets autos do you have?
Quite a few, probably 30.
Okay.
Or more at this point.
Wow. So Connor, do you believe that there's any kind of premium like desirability or paid for an older Hank Aaron autograph? It looks like most people have seen that as he got older that he got a little shaky in his signatures and they weren't as high quality as the older ones. But do you see that in auctions in the market?
It's hard to say, right? Just because when you're dealing in stuff that it doesn't sell hardly ever, it's kind of tough to judge. But I do have another side collecting goal, which is every one of Hank Aaron's cards signed, every Topps card. So there's about 75 of them.
Yeah.
And I have about 60.
Wow.
that's
all right.
Yeah, including the 54 Topps.
Yep.
Yeah. Wow.
Hey, I was going to ask you a question. This is kind of another random horse racing, since I'm kind of into the whole Secretariat thing. Are they not grading these anymore?
They are not. I've talked to Beckett. I've talked to Matt Fuller. I've talked to Nat, and basically, they've said that they don't view it as a ticket anymore. Essentially, is what it boils down to. So, right, they're viewing it as a betting slip, and they don't want to basically say, okay, we're going to grade this betting slip and not grade this betting slip. So they basically just said across the board that they're not going to grade them anymore. And full disclosure, I've graded by far the most of those out of anyone. Right, I've probably graded 40 to 50% of everything that they've graded.
So you're the one that caused them to say enough is enough.
But at the same time, over the course of 8 years, they graded maybe 500 of them, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like it wasn't like this was all of a sudden, a few slipped through and then they stopped grading them, right? Yeah. Right? They graded these all along, and then for whatever reason they stopped.
So it kind of turned into, this kind of opens up a floodgate for just other random
every single betting slip. That's
and then just receipts and all kinds of whatever paper item you can find that was at a game or something, and they want to stick to just tickets. So
and it kind of puts me in a tough spot, because it's like, sure, they're not grading them anymore, so it's the stuff that I have worth more, but I can't get any more of it, or right. It kind of gets interesting, because it's like I don't want to sell everything, of course.
Yeah, and it kind of gets to the whole idea that, and there's some real hardcore people that can't stand PSA because of this, and any's putting anything in slabs, is that you get collectors who will only even consider it if it is slabbed somehow, even if it was signed and slabbed, and that's the reason why it was slabbed, that they want it in some kind of encapsulation that says that it's authentic by a third party, and then it's effectively worth so much less if it's not.
Yep.
Which angers a lot of collectors, I think.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised that Beckett kind of took the same stance as well.
Yeah, I'm surprised with that too. But so go ahead. Mike.
Go ahead. Well, I was gonna say, what would you say is the most valuable betting slips?
I mean, the Secretariat Derby is hard to find. Right, I have one from the Gotham Stakes, which was actually pre-Kentucky Derby for Secretariat. So that's the only one I've seen from a race that he won prior to the Kentucky Derby. So literally somebody kept his ticket uncashed before he was ever a household name, before he won the Triple Crown and set the records. And, you know, it's
Very cool.
And the Derby's, I guess, rarity for Secretariat Triple Crown tickets. It's Derby's the rarest because it was the first one. They didn't know if he was going to win it. And then, of course, the second one, they're like, oh, he probably is. And the third one was like, he absolutely is. So we got to keep it. And he did. So, of course, everybody kept it. But everybody bought him with
they actually publicized numbers in newspapers. I've posted about it before. But there's about, you know, I don't want to misquote, but there's like maybe 1,500 each of Preakness and Derby, and then maybe 5,000 of the Belmont.
Wow, that's a lot more than I ever thought would actually.
But
that went uncashed.
Right. And this was a certain time point. You know, I forget how long after the race where basically they publicized, okay, this much is uncashed. But the Preakness, I thought they said it was less than the Derby. Funny enough.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Maybe less attended, or I figured the Derbies, but yeah, that's interesting.
But even still, it's relatively small in terms of like what the total could be if you're dealing with like a baseball stadium where, you know, the attendance was 40,000 or something, right? Like, you know, there's only 1,200 of the Preakness, let's say, you know,
that were originally produced, so to speak. Who knows how many exist still?
Yep.
So you're big on getting tickets signed. Do you have any system? I mean, do you like to do it in person? Do you like to send them away? Certain location on tickets? I mean, you have a plan of attack when you go get a ticket signed?
So almost everything's been sending it away. Luckily, haven't had too many issues. You know, like sending directly to Nolan Ryan or sending directly to, you know, like Joe Montana or whoever it may be.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you approach it when it's a high value ticket?
I mean, I'll insure it my way, and then luckily I haven't had any issues. Yeah.
Is it bad that I never insure anything because I've shipped probably thousands of items FedEx and I don't know if they've ever been lost. So I'm kind of like, well, I'm just gonna play the percentages and.
Yep.
I like to roll the dice, I guess, or I'm being cheap, one or the other.
Yeah, I've definitely thought about it's on my to-do list that's growing, but basically, you know, you can get some kind of blanket insurance where they insure it when it's in your possession, you know.
Yeah, just a collectible.
Sent away, just to kind of cover some of those instances, you know, and I'm buying and selling enough on eBay where it would probably be worthwhile.
Yeah.
So Connor, you mentioned before we jumped on that you consider yourself a younger collector. And how old are you?
I'm 31.
So what are your thoughts on kind of the age and the demographics of the ticket collecting community?
You know, I don't see many young people, and you know, it's the one knock. Obviously, I'm heavily invested in tickets. Obviously, I believe in it, right? You know, for various reasons, and of course enjoy it. But right, I do wonder if, you know, some of that younger generation that's into sports cards or whatever it may be is gonna, you know, funnel with the tickets over time, or you know how that all plays out with not printing tickets anymore. And you know, when I come from something like Pokemon as well, right? It's such high supply, high demand, like, and it's the same thing in the sports card world where you have everything from low supply, low demand to high supply, high demand, and everything in between. Whereas here, it's, you know, it's such a niche market. And then when you get into horse racing within tickets, it's a niche within a niche.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are I mean, I guess both, Sean, like, what are your thoughts on? I know we've kind of discussed that a little bit, but Connor's.
Well, I think Connor brings up a really good point about you know, just when he mentioned that he first got into vintage cards, because he was smart, basically. That's not, I think that it's kind of like a cycle that every collector goes through, where they start off with what's in front of them, which is what's on TV, their favorite players and all that. But then they start to realize when they get a little bit older and get, you know, some income, that the vintage stuff is way smarter to really get into. And so then they kind of gravitate towards that. And I put tickets in that, and I know that there's a lot of modern tickets, but to me, my focus is vintage tickets, and I sort of compare them to vintage cards in that same way. So it's kind of something that will stand the test of time. And the young people today will be tomorrow's old fogies who love it. That's what I believe.
Yeah, I remember Ravel making kind of a good point. Somebody brought it up, and it's talking about it is older demographic, but it's a demographic with a lot of additional income to spend. So it may not be as liquid, but when you do have to sell it, eventually you'll more likely find somebody. Like we were at the National, and Joe Montana debut, and there's a guy right there. He's like, oh, I'll buy it just right there on the spot. 5 figures. Sean brokered the deal, basically.
That is an issue, and I think who was it? Patrick Ryan made a short little video of this just a few days ago about the difficulty in, if you need to, liquidating a niche collectible. And that's true. It's a valid point. If Connor needed to suddenly just get cash for his collection for whatever emergency that it would be a lot more of a challenge than if you had a bunch of cards that you could just put on eBay and sell them, because he's got to find the right buyer. They're out there, but it's it'll take some work to find those buyers. So it is a little bit more of a challenge if you're in it for the financial gain first. But most collectors aren't. Obviously, the financial part of it is a variable that you have to pay attention to when you're putting down a lot of money for things. But it's not the first issue. The first issue is the collection. That's how it is for me, anyway. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, that's why I've always kind of pushed, hey, if you got a big item, put it on an auction house, because you need those eyeballs.
Yeah,
you need people paying their maximum. You just throw it up on Boogers or somewhere, you may get 50, 60, 80 cents on the dollar.
Yeah.
But if you put it on an auction, most likely it's going to be seen, and people are going to find out the true value. Because a lot of the stuff we don't know the value. A lot of cards you can easily find comps, and you can pull up Alt or one of those apps. And it's like, oh, look, this ticket's worth X amount. Well, you pull up your War Admiral or the match race. Like, I don't have no idea. Like, what would you got to auction that? There's no way I would just put it up on Boogers somewhere and say, hey, somebody make me. So let's get the bidding going. Let's really find out what this thing will go for.
Yeah. So Connor, you sell also on eBay and other auction houses?
I do. I haven't used any of the major auction houses. I bought a little bit on them. But I sell a fair amount myself just on eBay, and I've definitely thought about using some auction houses. Yeah.
Yeah. So you do, is it equal 50-50 buying, selling, or are you buying more than
lately, or
just in general? Because a lot of people use selling as a means to, raise capital to buy stuff. And it's something that I'm kind of looking into a lot more now, at least more recently, and nothing I've ever done before, but it's I think it's a good process.
I probably should be selling more than I am, but I try to keep it relatively even.
I feel you. That's the same way with me.
Well, I wanted to, some other stuff I want to talk about was I don't know if you guys saw the Heritage auction coming up. I kind of want to glance through that because it's actually some stuff goes off tonight. Have you looked at the ad at all, Sean or Connor?
I have a bunch of stuff saved that I was just following just because I'm curious where it ends, but I'm not bidding on anything. But
I mean, there's just some really cool stuff out there. I just got it from highest price going down. Of course, they got a reserve on a LeBron Game 7, which is actually a really cool ticket. He doesn't auto anything. But other than that, there's some things like it was one that I've kept my eye on for a while. Is that Game 1 that prices have just kept going up on. Actually put a nice bid on it, but I don't know if I want to be dropping 5 figures on something like that. But yeah, there's a lot of good options out there for people who want to collect high dollar stuff, really cool stuff. If you're back into Jordan debuts, Jordan collegiate debut, this one right here, the Bulls first clinch. I think somebody it's kind of interesting. When I was at the National, I've seen multiple tickets that people tried to sell to me that they eventually took to Heritage or Golden or one of the other auction houses. So they would come to me and say, hey, this is the money I want to get. And when I wouldn't reach their number, I think they basically said, okay, I'm going to take it to an auction house. And this Jordan clincher, the first one was actually one I saw at the National. That the guy, I think he wanted like 5,500 for it or more than that. So I'm kind of curious if he gets that number that he was looking to get. Some other ones like John Wooden's sign last game. That's kind of a cool ticket. I'm trying to these pop up. I don't know if I've seen one of those signed. And another like Magic Johnson debut ticket stub. Any of these getting you excited, Sean or Connor?
Connor, do you collect it outside of Hank Aaron and horse racing? What else do you look for when you look at an auction?
Mostly baseball stuff. First hit, last hit. Some 3,000s or 500. No hitters, perfect games. Right, so I've got a bunch of stuff from like Nolan Ryan, Koufax. Willie Mays.
Do you buy much on auction houses?
A little bit.
Some other ones, Havlicek stole the ball. Like kind of a hodgepodge Kareem signed Laker debut. Sean, I know you got to have one of these, right? Ichiro
I already have one of those.
Debut.
Yeah, there's so many of those. I don't know why they sell for so high.
Kobe 81, a high grade. Just a lot of cool tickets out there. Popular one, Rick Monday saves the flag. Hank Aaron, 7. You need more of these, Connor. Hank Aaron, 715.
I don't think I need any more.
How many do you have? A lot?
No, I mean, I think I've got a couple stubs on eBay right now, and then I've got the full and I've got a full approved and then a partial full. Right, I guess that's kind of an interesting topic too. Like when it's only missing one stub versus just one little piece, right? Like, and how that value is going to get, fleshed out over the years.
Because that Hank Aaron one's the 715 is interesting because it's like 6 different stubs, right?
Yep. Yeah, somebody posted on Boogers about that.
And it's just
I missed that post. Is it because they re-entered that they might tear more than one, or?
Yeah, I've seen this teared every which way, where they tear it on the left side, they tear it on the right side. But I think they're supposed to tear it on the left side here.
Yeah.
Wait. Because the far right stub that's missing is actually the rain check.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just like made a really long ticket and you could break it off 6 different places and then it's just very random. You get the small little stub on the end, like where the 8 is. But then you have something like this where you have the 3-parter, and then we looked at the full earlier and it's basically like double the size, but you could still break it down.
Right. And so then that brings up the debate over separating out a tiny stub off of a regular stub and then selling them both as 2 separate stubs versus, like a complete stub.
Yep.
Some other items, like I thought this was a cool one. Golden Gloves, Cassius Clay when he won the Golden Gloves championship. I thought that was kind of a cool, especially cool looking ticket too. Bobby Fischer tickets. Let me see. Like this one, I think some Sutterfield specials are in here. A lot of people, I think, dropped off a lot of tickets at the National. And basically, you're starting to see the ones that they dropped off starting to be sold on these auction houses. I saw so many like Bulls tickets. I've seen quite a few people popping up trying to sell their 90s Bulls items. Steve Largent debut sign, just a hodgepodge. So I would recommend everybody checking it out. It goes off tonight and tomorrow. Just a lot of cool items. There's about 60, 70, 80. We even got some Japanese movie tickets, some debut movie tickets. But I think it's one of the better auction. You got to have this one.
I have a full of that one.
Yeah, I don't know that.
It's
That's
Ken
the
Griffey Jr.'s
Griffey
first home run.
Jr. Yeah, first home run.
Mine's a
And I feel like
PSA.
his stuff over the years is, but
Yeah.
you'd probably confirm his stuff over the years has gone up compared to, I say, the
Oh, yeah.
average.
Yeah,
I feel
I
like
think
he
that
like,
there's maybe a couple Griffey collectors who are just driving everything up. Maybe a handful of hardcore Griffey collectors, and it's gone crazy in the last couple of years. Anything Griffey, but yeah, I got all my stuff kind of before he exploded in value, so I wasn't one of them, luckily.
I remember I always thought when we were young, I was like, it's impossible for Ken Griffey Jr. not to break Hank Aaron's home run record. He's so young and he has all these home runs, and then he just like crumbled to the end of his
Yeah,
career. Like, oh, I guess he's.
I mean, I think that same thing's happening to Mike Trout right now. Once a guy hits 30, their careers can just tank suddenly.
Right. That's
Not
like,
all of them.
we talked about Ohtani last week where he's basically about to turn 30. Like, well, the guy's had 2 arm surgeries. Like, what is he going to be pitcher wise in 3 years? We know he'll probably always hit, but like I said, injuries start popping up.
Yeah.
So you never know with these guys.
Yeah.
Did you guys see this sale? This was kind of a big, popular one. It was the Lincoln Ford's Theater tickets. So this one, actually, we talked about it last show. Final sale price was $262,500, which was interesting because it sold for, I had $83,650 in 2002.
The same exact thing.
And if you do the math, yeah. So 2002, the same tickets sold for $83,650. So it was basically a 5% annual return per year, which you think, I thought it would be more if you do the math, but so it's kind of like the equivalent of owning a solid stock. Over a 20-year basically return, we got about 5% back a year. So kind of that's kind of why I think we are with high dollar, high dollar, what you'd consider investment tickets. Like, I don't see some things going up crazy anymore like they were in COVID. Like, slow 5% increase a year. And that's kind of what we saw with these Ford's Theater tickets. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah. So I collected tickets and cards prior to 2018 or whenever this stuff, all the way back to the 2012 range. And back in those days, just like 10 years ago, cards, mainly vintage cards, was all I was into. They would never go down in value, but they would always stay the same. Basically, it would just stay the same. And over the course of maybe a decade, they might tick up a little bit, but they basically stayed the same in value. And then tickets, on the other hand, they just kind of slowly over time went up, and pretty consistently, not dramatically like we saw in the last couple of years, but pretty consistently, slowly over time. And that's kind of how they were. And I think we're just getting back to that. And we're probably getting back to that in the next couple of years. That's my analysis of it. What do you think, Connor?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some softness in the market, we'll say, compared to COVID, but that's to be expected, right? That's not a rational market.
Yeah, for sure. And it couldn't continue. And it
the only thing that worries me with collectibles, I go to these card shows, I still see, the flippers, the speculators, like full throttling, go in. I still see stuff out there, and prices have gone down. We haven't really even had a recession. I'm like, well, what happens when we have a full blown, I lost my job recession?
Yeah.
Like, I just don't see how items that are very speculative, hold their value. Like, I feel like people still trying to get their money back on hoping, they're holding on to stuff, hoping I get back close to what I paid for it. But like, I don't know if we've seen true capitulation on things other than the super high end. Like, we've seen some crazy high end cards. I know I'm not a big card guy, but I see it because I'm around it all the time. Like, man, there's been some insanely high percentage drops in some of that stuff. And I don't know if it's still been shaken out for the whole market from the mid-tier stuff and the lower tier compared to
I'm
what the
curious
buying scene.
about, so we mentioned horse racing is kind of a niche within a niche.
Yep.
How since 2015, how if you took out COVID, obviously, how has it changed the market for horse racing tickets?
Right, there's a few core collectors that I talk to on a semi regular basis, and it's steadily grown, I would say. I mean, there was a couple crazy sales. There's like a 1937 full that was like 40,000 during COVID. There was a there was some recently I saw a 1930 stub that was like it said it was sold for like 13,000 on eBay. I'm like, I highly doubt it. I mean, I have two of those. It's super hard to find. You're not going to find many, but
and you said it's just a dirt 19. What is it? A 1930 Derby?
1930 stub, right? So second Triple Crown winner.
Okay. Yeah, horse racing is interesting because I feel like I could see it in the future. The PETA types trying to drive it out. But then again, I feel like the Derby has just grown almost exponentially in that bucket list, something I got to do, I got to be a part of. So like there's those 2 pulling factors, like, oh, I got to be at the Derby. I got to see the celebrities and be part of the pageantry. And then there's the other part being like, horse racing's bad. These horses are dying. So like, I'm curious to how that's going to play out in the future.
I've definitely given that some thought. Horse racing goes back to like 4,500 BC or something like that, and in China and things, and it's probably one of the oldest forms of gambling as well. It's interesting. It's been around so long, and but it's certainly a risk that I've factored into that market.
Yeah. Do you see spikes in value and interest when something in the current horse racing world makes the news?
Not really.
No. So it's not like the Olympics every 4 years, Olympic stuff goes crazy.
Yeah, I mean, like I'll sell like sets of like the Triple Crown winners, right? Because there's like 13 Triple Crown winners, and so I'll sell mostly complete sets. I mean, like the 1919, right? Like that ticket is, it's probably number 1 or 2 for me. Like I would take it over a Jordan debut. I would take it over a Wilt 100. I would take it over almost everything except for a Jackie debut.
Yeah. And what's the 1919?
So that would be the first Triple Crown. So that would be Sir Barton. There's only one that I've ever seen, and that's pretty much it until 104-year-old ticket surfaces.
So is it a ticket just for the Derby, or is it all of the tickets for the Triple Crown?
The one that's out there is specifically to the Derby, and it's dated on that day.
Wow. And where did you see it? Is it in a private collection, or?
It's in the registry.
Okay.
I have posted about it saying it's not my ticket, but I don't even know what the value is on something like that.
Yeah. What was the year of the first Derby?
It goes back to 1860, something like that.
Right. So way back there.
Yep. I mean, I actually have 1926 through current date, except for maybe the last couple of years. Much before 1920, you basically don't see the tickets.
Right.
I'm not even sure I've seen anything prior to 1919 or so.
It seems like Derby's almost, you can compare them to say like Masters badges. How there's some super old ones, and some are insanely rare and very, very valuable.
And people trying to complete those sets, right? A few of those ones from the 20s and things or fulls from just oddball years where there's not many. It's they certainly demand a premium.
Yeah,
interesting.
So Connor, is there a community of collectors that are specifically going after horse racing tickets that you've come to get to know?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few sellers on eBay that I bought from, I've sold to. People have tried to buy certain things from me that I don't really want to sell.
Yeah. And so do you connect with them and kind of network along
Yeah.
those
Yep.
lines? And that's what would you say that community is in population? Is it in the hundreds?
Probably not even.
Yeah.
Of serious collectors. You know, I sell stuff fairly frequently in the realm, but yeah.
But then there's also the just kind of general sports memorabilia collectors who enjoy all different sports, and of course, kind of like Mike, who, you know, he would love that kind of stuff too. It's just, you know, not specifically only horse racing, but it falls in that category. So it is.
I've always been one of those people too, right? I kind of stay in my lane, right? Like I know what I like, I know what I don't like, right? I'm certainly a collector, I'm an investor, I'm a dealer of sorts, right? So a little bit of everything, and right, I always buy things that I like and that I think have investment potential.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way, and that's been a little bit of an evolution, and I think that COVID really, with the spike in values and everything, I've really had to kind of narrow my interests to focus on those things that I really like instead of just kind of generally everything. And It sounds like you're similar to that, but didn't necessarily go through the whole evolution of buying everything and then narrowing it down after. You were zeroed in the beginning.
I've had some goals, and yeah. But I still buy that hodgepodge, you know, ticket from time to time where I'm just like, you know, it's cool.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So you got Hank Aaron, you got horse racing. You got any other certain things you like to collect?
You know, Jeter was always, you know, growing up. I mean, Mo and Jeter are, you know, certainly for someone my age who's a Yankees fan, it doesn't get much better than that. You know, I've talked about it. Regardless of the stats, regardless of anything, he is the Mickey Mantle for my generation, right? Like, it's hard to not call him that.
Oh, that's right. We had this debate. This was you. I forgot about that.
You know,
Connor got offended when I made comments about Jeter before. I think he got offended when I commented about the flip and how that's the hustle play heard around the world.
I think that's one of the best defensive plays ever.
Yeah,
I think it's far better than Willie Mays the catch. Okay, and I know I'm gonna get a lot of flack for that.
Yeah.
Well, Sean doesn't respect the catch either. He think that was kind of overrated.
Yeah, I mean,
Darren and I argued over the
I'll just say this: it was good hustle. It was great hustle.
It was a hustle play.
I mean, in terms of athletic ability and all that, I've seen some amazing diving catches and home runs.
I just have one argument, which is show me a similar play. It doesn't exist. I've looked.
Well, that's because usually they hit the cutoff guy.
Well, it's a one-off. It's still a one-off.
Yeah.
I guess Jeter is just kind of, I guess if you're between the ages of what, about 20 to 35, like, man, he is.
Yeah, especially
the end all be all for Yankee fans.
Yeah.
And Yankees fans is that's a huge number of people. That's a huge collector base. I always feel like, there's certain modern guys that'll always be collected. I feel like Jeter is one of those, mainly because, he's the guy for the 90s, 2000s Yankees. He's the it guy.
Right, like with Mickey Mantle and his rookie card or whatever. Is he really the best player in his era? How about Hank Aaron? How about Willie Mays? How about,
Yeah.
Ted Williams is older, but, is he really are his values on that rookie card justified? And it's like, no, that card became so iconic that
he's had those magical moments, like his 3,000th hit, his last home game, the World Series, the flip play,
if you encompass everything as a fan, it's like hard to not.
He's just the greatest of all time. Well, what can you say, John? He's the greatest of all time. That's it.
Jeter? Well, I'll just say this. If he played in Milwaukee, his name would be Paul Molitor, and nobody would care about him.
You made that comparison. I looked at the stats.
They're the same.
I respectfully disagree.
Hey, it's the moments that matter. It's those unique moments.
I do have his first hit signed, or his first home run signed, which is a Cleveland Indians ticket, and as a full, it's impossible to find.
Yeah. Yeah, I think yours is the only full I've seen.
Yep. And then when I had him sign it, I was like, yeah. Which, signing through MLAB is
he's charging
challenging, we'll say.
800, 900 a pop now. Something around that number.
Yeah.
Well, do you guys have anything else to add? Any more Jeter moments you want to talk about and reminisce?
We won't go into the dive. The flip is far better.
Oh yeah, you got the dive too. You forgot about the
dive's
dive.
better than the flip. I'll admit that for sure.
Didn't he
the
even
dive
hit
is better than the flip?
Oh yeah, as a play. Maybe it wasn't as important as a play, was it? I don't remember the circumstance around the dive, but better play. I mean, that's tough. You don't know what you're going to hit when you dive into the stands. You're going to hit a person or a chair or something, or it's the cement.
There's a million diving catches. Okay.
But
there's only one flip.
There's
only
a lot of flips too, but it just doesn't get hyped up. Nobody ever sees them because nobody cares about them because it's just such an ordinary play.
Man, so
full disclosure, I don't own a flip ticket. Okay. But I tried to buy one from Mike before.
Oh, okay. I like that. Yeah, I like that ticket. I feel like it's underrated, undervalued.
It's one of those things. I think I'll have an opportunity to get it, and it's I think there's more out there, I guess.
Oh yeah, there's quite a few more out there.
Wow, that's it. I have the only ones.
I do have one recent pickup that I haven't shown on Instagram here.
Oh, you got it handy? Yeah. What other pickups you got?
While we're talking about Yankees, and after the first no hitter, Nolan Ryan, and this one, I'm probably tapped out for a while. But
that was you.
May 23rd, 1995.
That was the one on eBay.
That was the one on eBay.
Yeah. Well, that's good to know who got
Wait,
that.
what is it?
It's Mariano debut.
Oh, okay. Was that one that was it posted correctly? Like, did you get a crazy deal?
It was posted correctly. I didn't even think he was going to accept the offer. But there's a little bit more. Obviously, Mariano, Jeter as a Yankee fan, like I said. But this is May 23rd, 1995. My birthday is May 23rd, so I was 3 when he made his debut.
Nice.
So when I found that it was my birthday, I'm like, okay,
gotta have it.
Yeah. I gotta have it.
Yeah, that's
Sean,
a good one.
Have you picked anything up, Sean?
I actually did, but I already sent them to PSA, so I'll wait until they come back, and a couple of pretty good ones that I'll wait until they come back to show them. But an express order. I have so many tickets at PSA now. I think 60. So
yeah, I got some at Beckett and PSA. I like to send them to both. I got some random pickups. This was I know I way overpaid for this, but these are so insanely hard to find. This is game 1 of the 2011 Maverick finals. They actually lost, but like you don't see these anywhere. So I was like, you know what? Maybe I'm gonna try to collect all the games because the Miami ones are impossible and the Dallas ones are easy to find. I got this. This is the Vince Carter Slam Dunk, and it's actually a full. I got this on eBay auction. I sold one a while back, and I kind of regretted it. I wanted to get this one back. Maybe one day he'll get it signed. So I thought this was pretty nice, especially being a full. And then the genius that I am, I wanted to get a Usain Bolt 100-meter gold medal final, his first one, and I got it really cheap. I was like, wow, I got this for $80. And I looked at it and I was like, oh, this is the 200-meter. I'm like, wow, genius. So those are my pickups recently. I got a few other things, but they haven't come in. So when they do, I'll show them. But I don't think I bought any big boys in a while, so maybe I'm due.
Yeah. Well, I bought an actual collection of tickets and I'm still going through them, and there's some pretty cool stuff in there. So we'll do a show in the future, and I'll go through some of them.
Wow, where'd you get this collection? Just give us a hint, a taste.
A taste of what was in there.
Well, I mean, where you got it, what kind of stuff.
I'll save it. I'll save that information for another day. The taste is that I bought a collection.
Okay,
there's thousands of tickets in it, and it's
thousands. Okay.
Yeah. And some pretty good stuff too. Yeah.
Interesting.
That's a pretty good teaser.
Yeah.
So, well, anything else anybody would like to share? we had one question. It says, what about event parking passes, since printing is getting more and more rare? I've never been an event parking pass person. I feel like it just needs to be a ticket in the stadium. I don't know about, I mean, what do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I haven't either, but if it is a situation where you can't get a ticket because they didn't print, then it might be the next best thing.
I mean, I have one parking pass that came with. Let me see if I can. Oh, here it is.
Yeah, I probably have a few miscellaneous ones, but nothing. Yeah.
Check out this parking pass, boys.
This better be
LeBron debut parking pass. How about that? What do you think that's worth, actually?
I have no idea. Is that?
It was part of that package that lady sent me.
You know, I bet that's more rare than a ticket because everybody saved the ticket.
Yeah, 100%. But like, does people really want a parking pass to that game?
You know, it's only, what is it? Is there any games? I think the Gibson home run in the '88 World Series, the parking pass is somewhat relevant because of the famous scene where the cars are driving away as he rounds the bases, you know.
Oh, really? I guess that's good.
But I can't think of any other examples where the parking pass is actually relevant to the game, you know.
Yeah, I don't.
Related
Other than where like Lee Corso's car got struck by lightning at a Virginia Tech game. I mean,
did that happen?
Yeah, I think that really happened.
Well, the parking pass for that would be kind of cool.
Other questions. This type 1. This is LeBron's rookie year, and she sent this also.
Yeah, that's a type 1. I don't know, but
no, really, is it?
It is. Well,
I need an expert to answer that question.
But here's the thing: so by definition, that's a type 1. But
original negative, and yeah,
it's original negative, and it was of the era. So, but you send it in. Do they agree with that? Because you can't really prove it. But maybe they can. Maybe they know because you know they're experts in looking at photos and the time that it was taken and all of that. But yeah, that's a type 1. But just because here's the thing about type 1s.
Hold on.
You got more?
Look at the date on that big bad boy.
Oh, that's not a date. Yeah. So
November 2003.
There you go.
Am I sitting on $100,000? Am I holding $100,000 in my hand?
Here's the other thing about the type 1.
LeBron rookie debut game.
I'm not an expert on photos at all, but I do know that the photo also has to be relevant, and maybe the debut, because you see these Jordan type 1 photos from his debut game, and they're valuable. So in that same way, maybe that is. But I also know that the professional photos are somewhat more desirable than just some person sitting.
Not the ones that were printed out at CVS.
Yeah, so I don't think it's quite 100,000 yet.
Damn it. Maybe 100. I'll have to find a type 1 Facebook group and ask them. They'd know.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. I think that's a good one to end on, my $100,000 photograph. Well, Connor, I appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having me.
You and Sean can have your Derek Jeter debate on Instagram.
Yeah, we'll duke it out another time.
We'll continue it.
Spend hours chatting back and forth about Jeter's flip play.
We've already done that. We've already been through all that.
All right, Connor.
Yeah.
Great stuff. Maybe we can check out his IG at Ticket Craze. Awesome collection. Thanks for coming on. Much appreciated. Really cool stuff. And everybody else, thanks for watching. And I'm sure we'll be back in a week or two and we'll be talking some more tickets.
Yeah.
But thanks again.
Thanks, guys.